On the Upfront segment tonight, your personal finances as we say goodbye to 2020 and look ahead to 2021. Joining us tonight is Rick Bloom, founder and partner of Bloom Advisors and a very familiar face to Channel 7 viewers. Rick, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. This has been such a difficult year, though, for so many living through this pandemic, and yet for individual investors fortunate enough to be in the stock market, we've seen record highs even during trading today. How do you explain it?
Well, what I would look at, and remember this, the stock market is always looking forward, not backwards. And when you look forward, you see a lot of bright news that we seem to be at the end of this crisis. Businesses are going to start reopening. The economy is going to start reopening. So that's all good news for business. And that's what drives the stock market. Also, when you look at federal policy, interest rates are going to remain low for at least another year or so. And that also helps the stock market.
So if you want to build a financial future for yourself, don't you have to be invested in the stock market?
You know, you really do, Dave. And the thing people have to realize, markets are always going to be volatile. But as Warren Buffett once said, it's not timing the market, it's time in the market that makes someone successful. And so people have to realize when they invest, they need to focus on their goal. If your goal is 10, 15, 20 years down the road, what happens over the short term shouldn't sway you from reaching your goals. So I always encourage investors, take a long-term approach. And if you do that, you'll be successful.
You mentioned volatility. That's a concern in 2021, right? With a new administration, the possibility that Democrats could also take control of the Senate in the runoff election in Georgia?
No question about that. And let's also, one of the big risks that we have this year, if the vaccine doesn't work and doesn't do what it's supposed to do, that could have some devastating effects. So there's always going to be risk. You can also look at the fact that the federal deficit is through the roof, and there's going to have to be some issues with that. But I think when you weigh everything, there's a lot more positive news than negative news. But people shouldn't be investing for 6 months or even for a year. You have to look long term. You have to take a 5-10-year approach. That's what makes you successful.
Unfortunately, many are dealing with the reality of job losses, unemployment. Now, as a financial planner, is there a roadmap back that you can suggest for families that are really struggling right now?
It is, and there is. And the first thing I always tell people to do is get a hold of where you're at. And you have to do a family balance sheet, know what your assets and what your liabilities are. The next thing you need to do is a cash flow statement, what's coming in and what's going out. Because what you need to do in those situations is look for ways to be more efficient with your money to start controlling your costs. I think that's the first thing that people need to do is look at the cost side. And unfortunately, the job market is still improving, but people are going to be without jobs for a while. So they have to look at ways of cutting their costs. You know, something people can look at doing, Dave, they haven't refinanced their mortgage in the last few years. It could be a great opportunity to cut their interest rate down, considering what's happened to mortgage rates. You can get a 30-year fixed rate mortgage for under 3%.
Yeah, that's historically low, no question.
Right. And I was also saying they can also deal with creditors. Creditors understand things a little better right now, so they can deal with their creditors and cutting some deals.
Excellent advice. We appreciate that and your insight as we look forward to, hopefully for everyone, a better 2021. Rick, thank you for your time tonight. Rick Bloom with Bloom Advisors, a familiar face here on Channel 7, joining us for the 7 Upfront segment tonight. Thank you.